I mean, this is something I want to break the ice here. If there are more women using the cups here, I want to know which is the best one that works for you. And then I'll explain to everybody who doesn't know it what a folding technique is.
Yeah, I was using the C technique.
Yeah? Okay.
So C or the 7 technique, which are
go in.
we go in. Or the punch down, I feel that's the best.
Best one.
Yeah,
right.
we punch it down the whole way in, put it in, and slightly rotate with the stem of it.
Yeah.
And after inserting, what I do is I put in my finger and make sure the
vacuum is there.
Yeah, make sure. So
are there times when I have done different kinds of folding techniques? I mean, we just on the go, right? You go pop it in and you want to go. Before you go, you kind of try to. I'm gonna open this and show them what we're talking about. And I welcome questions, comments, wonderment from men here as well. We would want to. This is not just a. So this is the stem, right? That was shown by Dr. Akhil as well. So in some other ones, the stem is like really, really long. Depends on also our anatomy as to how far in it goes. And there's also an option for us to cut it, right? Like if we wanted it, if it pokes us around after we put it in, we can always chop it off a little bit for our convenience. So I try to pull it down, and sometimes it comes loose, and I'm like, oh, not again, like not again this one. So it has happened to me a couple of times, even after a year, 2 years of using it, that I'm like super confident. I go in and so this is, thank you. This is my folding technique. Because this has I think the smallest diameter to go in, which doesn't hurt the petal fold it is. So you go in all the way, you hold it in like this, and once you insert it into your vagina, it goes up like this. But sometimes it doesn't go up because the fold is way too tight.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to keep pinching here for it to open up. So that can be, but we are problem solvers. Like we get in there. It's yoga and acrobatics at the same time. But once it's in there, it's like, for me at least, about 7-8 hours. Thank God for my flow at the moment. I don't have to think about it. And there are times overnight shoot I have gone without having to worry about any of it. But yeah, I wanted to know what your fold is. Are there any other women who are using it? When you're commenting or talking, please tell me what your favorite ones are. So I can try it. It's gonna be a community thing. We can try different folds that works for you.
There is a 7-fold also available. Usually the petal fold that you showed, that's the most convenient.
Yeah.
And I think majority of women generally go with the petal fold.
Is this the 7-fold?
Yeah, it's a 7-fold. But the petal fold is the one that actually tapers the end.
Yeah.
So, which is why it's generally most women find that far more convenient than the C-fold. But then it's totally personal.
So this is the 7-fold, right?
Yes.
Tell me if I'm wrong. And wait, what am I doing? Yeah, this is the C-fold.
That's a slipper.
This is the C-fold. So as you can see, the C-fold is still a bigger diameter. It works actually for C-fold works for even women who just anatomically have a bigger surface area over there, or also women who have given birth. So in the very beginning,
again, that's a misconception.
That's a misconcept, yeah.
Unfortunately, most brands, they've like arbitrarily divided sizes based on whether you're a virgin, whether you're unmarried, whether you had 1 delivery or 2 deliveries.
It doesn't matter.
Actually, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Each person's anatomy is so different, and it doesn't really have an influence on whether you had a delivery or whether you're married or not.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. A person who has already delivered 1 child may find a medium size far more better than a large size. And a person who is a virgin may find a medium size far better than a small size. So this is all trial and error. And even the folds. One fold that might work for you for a couple of cycles may not work for you for the next
cycle, because our body keeps changing.
Our bodies keep changing. So one thing that we have to understand about this is it's very easy for everyone to talk about a cup. And we can all enter into rhapsodies or, like, this has so many plus points and it's like really good, better, environmental impact. Again, I'm pretty sure all of us are concerned about the environment. But when it comes to something as personal as this, none of us really actually think about it. We rather go for like what's convenient for me or what's comfortable for me. And especially the fear factor. We all have that mental block. When it comes to trying something new, the moment it's about placing something inside yourself, we all take 2 steps back because it's not easy to convince ourselves about it. And unfortunately, we women have another problem. We are so overcautious with each other. When it comes to using something new, it's very few women who actually tell their friends like, you know what, it is good. You can try this. Most women will rather discourage each other by, you know, by some information they get from somewhere. They will never really look into the authenticity of it. They just believe whatever they hear and then they spread the word around. And it's not just about menstrual cup. Even when it comes to, for example, labor pain. I still remember all my friends, or when it comes to your moms also, the only thing they have to say is that it's terrible agony. That's it. You're going to suffer your way through it, but it's a cross you have to bear. Just go with the flow. But this was something that I had faced personally. I remember a friend saying that, you know what, yeah, we can it's that bad. And it really scares you. But when you, and I said to get to the crux of it, no, how can it be that bad? Everybody's doing it. And when you, I actually went for antenatal classes and Lama's classes to get to the bottom of it. Like, what is this about? Why is it so scary? The same thing applies here. Another factor challenge that most people face is, as Parvati rightly mentioned and even as Anand said, none of us actually know our anatomy, our own anatomy. Even as doctors, you learn it in theory. But do you actually know how your own anatomy is? No. You don't. Do you know how, does your friends know how their anatomy is? No. Because we've been conditioned and brought up that way that this, the genital area is a taboo area. Don't touch there. Don't look there. You have nothing to do with that area. So that is something that we have to break. That particular challenge or fear factor is the first thing every one of you sitting here has to do.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. That's your name, right? Smita, thank you so much. This is so well spoken. There is this aspect of, what is that? I have this problem from shoot. When I'm performing, somebody's phone goes up. So the thing is, there is this aspect of our body until we are, I was going to ask you to sit down, it was a long time to standing. We give birth or we have the prospect of giving birth, until then you're a goddess. After that or before that, this triangular area is where we hold shame. So much of shame in there without us even realizing it. I still am in the process of shaking it off and wanting to know how my body folds, and you know, if there is like a bit of lava lamp going on, you know, I'm not exactly the most you know, flat abs and everything, so I, you know, how my jeans fit in, and sometimes there is so much of covering, like even our body language changes like this because you're sort of shamed for being big chested. So there are times when I'm in a public event, sometimes I have to be like, okay, move one shoulder back, own your space, you belong here, you know. I have to tell myself that. It's a constant process. So people say that, oh, Parvati, she's confident. No, she's not. There are days she wakes up and she feels like she has shrunk so much she cannot feel herself. So every aspect of this, and this we are talking about the reproductive parts, where we are, when you know there is a prospect of you hit your puberty, you're celebrated, and after that for the same thing, fertility, exactly. And that's a big cross to keep carrying all our lives. And where does our individuality go, where we can just talk about, and what you said also about shaming another woman's choice of what makes them feel comfortable. Like if it is bad that they're comfortable, just let them be. Maybe we can find out. So that again, right? I mean, I totally applaud the aim here, which is environmental, you know, safety, and you know how to uphold that, but not that too on our backs, right? I mean, with all due respect, like we have the entire society's purity and all of that in our vagina, and you know, being like trees cutting down, and global warming will also be upon our menstruation. So I'm like, let's move into also looking at what is period panties, what are those cotton, you know, No Nasties is a brand that I've used once, and their period cloth panties are actually foolproof. Like I've used them, all you need to wash them is in hot water and like sterilize them after use. They come from like I think 8 to 12 pads. So these are all information, more and more choices and information about our own reproductive system. I mean, in accordance, like everything that we're speaking here, we all have our own communities where we can pass all this information, but we don't have this heart to heart. Where did you go through that? No, I also went through that. What did you do about? It's a kind of comfort that is like no other, which is more than, you know, what I can say. So and this is what I want with my male friends as well, or any gender. It's not just women who menstruate. I think it's high time we all recognize that as well. It's all genders that we have to consider the spectrum and understand what their needs are too. We don't have actually currently any representative from the transgender community here. And I wish we could hear from them too, what they had to go through and what they're. So, in one step, maybe baby steps what we are taking, but consistent, like you said, it has to be consistent awareness because it falls on deaf ears if it happens like a flash in the pan and doesn't move on. Sorry, I'm talking too much. Anybody else wants to comment and talk about it, please? ഒരുപാട് വർഷങ്ങളായിട്ട് ഇവൻസിൽ കാണുന്നതാണ്. So always when I see her in the podium, I'm very much at home. So nice to see you. First of all, Highway sir, thank you so much for thinking of me again. കാര്യം പലതവണ ഒരു ഇവൻറ്റിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോഴും ഒന്നെങ്കിൽ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ആയിരിക്കും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മെൻ്റലി പ്രിപ്പയർഡ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല, അങ്ങനെ പല പല കാര്യങ്ങളും കാരണങ്ങളും പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഒഴിവായിട്ടുണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ ഹി ഹാസ് ബീൻ റിലൻറ്റ്ലെസ്. ഹി ഹാസ് ഫോളോഡ് അപ്പ് വിത്ത് മീ ആൻഡ് ഹി ഹാസ് ഷെയർഡ് ഹിസ് പ്ലാൻസ് വിത്ത് മീ. And I guess it's an extreme privilege to be standing here, especially as a woman. കഴിഞ്ഞ 16 വർഷമായിട്ട് മലയാളം സിനിമ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയിൽ ഹെൽത്ത് കൺസേൺസിന് വേണ്ടി മാത്രം ബാത്റൂമിന് വേണ്ടി ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഒരാളാണ് ഞാൻ. അതിന് I was nicknamed Bathroom Parvati for a very long time. Not something I'm very proud of that. പക്ഷേ, to be honest, just about a month ago, I was still on a set fighting with the Vanity Caravan people for not allowing other women who are in the part of the team to use the vanity. They said only the heroines can use it. So then it was another like sword fight. Like it was another thing of 8 to 9 hours of holding and making sure we go and perform and come back thinking, oh shit, producer inde paisa yappa poi vandu avarku ee shot edutittu povam. So they're so accommodating in our system, in our organs. Every part of a woman's body shrinks to accommodate everybody. And then finally when we go, I hear the vanity driver saying, oh, single use vanity aanu nammade tank vella off cheyidu vechirikka, that I have to beg to use the bathroom. So that's like it's a kind of realization you have of your privilege and the way it can be snatched away in a moment because of lack of awareness, lack of education. So that was just a month ago, so I'm still very raw from it. So standing here talking about Menstrual Cup, I mean it's a long journey for me to come to Menstrual Cup, so bear with me. I was born in a generation that by the time I reached puberty, I was told, oh, valiya kuttiyai, porthu roominu porthu irangarudhu, mette all the rituals that needs to be done. I enjoyed the food though, that was a side thing, but all that attention and suddenly, you know, the way you need to be behaving, the way you need to be sitting, you shouldn't be touching the clean clothes, the washed clothes, all of that enraged me beyond. So I was the problem maker, the troublemaker in the family who would always just touch the clean clothes and run away just in front of my mom, just to piss her off. But the thing is, our body being attached to purity according to the convenience of the society is the biggest thing we need to be, in fact, deconditioning from ourselves as we support our fellow women. And as our society and men ask us questions and we needn't be educating them, they have all the resources to educate themselves, but when we do get to talk to them, at least they get to witness and listen to us. So coming to the matter of periods, I was introduced to Menstrual Cup only about 4 years ago, and this was a time when only a Wow Cup and a Diva Cup was available on Amazon, and I still looked, and there was an organic cup which was very expensive, so I was very iffy about the fact that it's a plastic thing. I don't know if the silicone grade that Dr. Akhil was talking about, I wasn't sure of it. So I paid pretty huge sum to buy this and promptly flushed it down the toilet because I didn't know how to use it and clean it. And I was like, but there goes my 3K. And then moved on to try a couple of more products. And thank God for my tribe of women that I have in my life, that you talk all the intimate details without any. We talk about our reproductive system and our health issues much as we talk about politics and other international issues. And for us to reach that level of awareness, to take away talking about a part of our body, any shame attached to it, any cultural, religious aspect of it, to actually free ourselves from that, was one of the biggest education. So one of the major things for me, the women I see in front of me right now you've all been working in this for a very long time. More into the activist space, nobody understands the groundwork that goes behind it. Like the day and night of hard work that goes behind it. We come for an event like this, we celebrate each other and go, but when a woman calls with extreme pain, and we don't know what to do except for give her meftal or maybe take her to a gynac and figuring out what exactly may be wrong with her, and to only get options of maybe, when we say PCOD, we only get an option of maybe Yasmin, is it, the birth control pill, and to actually looking at each other's like, what are our other options really? So to create and increase a tribe of women who are educating each other of, listen, you know what, this is a symptom I went through and this is an option I had, can you check with your gynac? That's kind of a tribe. Actually, to be honest, I have only about 5 to 6 women that I still talk to like that. I still find that when I speak about it openly in my family, they still have a tiny bit of cringe going on one side of their body, and yeah, we hear you, we can't stop you, apparently, but we hear you. So I think that kind of a conversation amongst our friends, amongst our friends group or maybe collective needs to increase, so that the shame attached, for us to increase awareness on the usage of a cup, of what a cup is, to still understand the ground reality. At least I tell myself that I sometimes lose sight of the fact that once I have gone past a certain understanding of, let's say, virginity, the concept of virginity and all of it, I have a tendency to think that, oh, since I have evolved, so have the people. And then I look around, they have not. And just recently, when I was traveling with a friend to Kolkata, and this shocked me. I went with a friend to a local school who was giving them a bit of a demo as to how to use sanitary pads. These are girls who come from a tribal community and whose mothers and fathers work for my friend's company. So she is the one who's the benefactor for them to go to school. And she was promptly showing, she took an underwear, she kept the pad, she showed how the veins are put around. And they all had a look of askance on their face. They didn't know somehow there was a lot of confusion on their faces. So we asked them, what about this confuses you? And we realized they don't have underwears. They don't know what it is like to have underwears. So here we are preaching to a crowd where they don't have that basic necessity met. So to constantly unlearn, be aware of my privilege, and then to unlearn, however forward I come, that there's a huge community who's still left behind, who's the pace with which each community is growing. You can't just be Schumacher, man. You need to walk along with them. You need to get out on the road and walk with them. So we are reaching here, this constituency, bringing about, how much is that? 1 lakh, I have to keep repeating. 1 lakh menstrual cups. It's a huge milestone, and I applaud Heidi sir and his team for making this happen. IMA for supporting this. Thank you so much. We've spoken about conversion a bit, although a very problematic word these days, but that conversion into menstrual cup space. There is one aspect I would love to talk to you more when we are interacting as well. As much as we look at conversion from pads to menstrual cups, it's very important, and this is courtesy our friend Adira, that I wouldn't have known this. We have a common friend who's brilliant. She told me, have you talked to women with vaginismus? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Vaginismus, right? And I was like, what is that? Privilege right here, right? I don't have that problem. So I'm using menstrual cup without any problem. This is the fear and the pain, the incredible needle stinging pain that a woman faces with anything being inserted in her vaginal area. And those are not women who can afford to use cups. So how do we help them? So, and at the same time, think of the environment. Is other options which are like cloth pads and period panties, which have come to the fore as well. So I myself am like learning how to use period panties and checking, oh, how long can those be used? What is the economic aspect of it? How does it cost? How can we? So in each community, especially in Kumbalangi, in the 17 wards, when we are speaking to them, we also need to have that check with those girls who are the ones who are facing that kind of an issue. That we cannot reach to a crowd who are going through that pain, and then the problem again is that when we feel some issue, we always go inward. I've seen that mostly with women, is that we blame inward. So when they have pain and they can't talk about it, courtesy, stigma, taboo and whatnot, they will think that something is really wrong with them and only them. I'm someone at the age of 19 had a lump on her left breast. The longest time I thought that's how every woman's breast had. Until my mom was fitting my blouse and she found the lump. She's like, what is this? I'm like, don't you have it too? And she's like, no, we need to go to the doctor. And this is how unaware I was. And this is me coming from a rather comfortable middle class family with resources all around me. And we are going to go into wards where women don't even talk about it, about their private parts, even to their closest friends sometimes, most of the times. So that's another aspect I would love for, especially since there is a control room facility that's there. This is a kind of awareness and maybe training the people who are going to be in the control room that maybe ought to have. I myself, whenever I tell anybody, you must try the menstrual cup, it took about 3 cycles for me to crack into it. There was still about some spotting and everything, but after that, yes, it was freedom like I've never known, even the lack of pain and everything. But again, while I say that, there's always this caveat that I speak from my privilege of not having any other reproductive health issues or other muscular issues. So thank you for listening to this part out. This is something that I would have said during our interaction, but I felt it even more in the gut because there's so many more girls that I'm meeting who talk about their issues, why they can't use menstrual cup. So thank you for having me here. I feel it's a privilege to be able to speak about it, and thank you so much.